Andre Green is the executive director of the National Center for Fair and Open Testing and joins me from Boston. Andre, you don't think this is such a good idea. Tell us why.
Well, I don't know if I'd say it's not a good idea. What it is frankly an admission by the College Board that the criticisms groups like ours have been making for 30 plus years are correct. That the SAT doesn't measure aptitude as much as it measures privilege.
So what about the supporters who say this will actually help colleges weigh the cultural and socioeconomic background of students and really level the playing field?
Well, I would say that colleges and universities have actually been doing that for years. Like every college in America looks at, especially colleges for whom the SAT and ACT, and there are over 1,000 of them, where that test is already optional or not allowed at all. They already look at a student's full holistic picture. And I frankly do a better job than this score could hope to, because they actually look at the student rather than, as the score purports to do, looking at some vague sense of the neighborhood of a school is in.
So how are these diversity scores calculated? Do you know?
So that's the other problem, and I think a lot of colleges are having with it, is that we know some of the things they're looking at, but no, it's still somewhat opaque. So we know that it's going to be looking at things like the percentage of students at a high school who qualify for a free or reduced lunch, or the poverty rate in the community. But it's looking at the community, not the student, and we're not quite sure how it's calculated. A student won't be able to see their own score, so it's opaque and not very accountable to the student or the schools.
What about a simpler option, just not requiring students to take these tests like the ACT or the SAT?
Well, frankly, that has long since been Fair Test's position. As I mentioned, there are over 1,000 schools and universities in America that don't require the SAT or the ACT, and they cover all sorts of schools, so your small liberal arts schools to your large comprehensive research institutions, elite schools such as the University of Chicago. These are schools that have managed to do this, and what we find is that once a school goes test optional, they don't ever see a need to go back. So schools aren't missing the data they get from the SAT or the ACT.
Andre, do you know how this adversity score has done in the schools and universities where it was tested? I understand 50 colleges and universities. What's been the result? Do you know?
So I can't say that I do know. We know that they had been piloting this since 2017, and frankly, it had been going pretty quietly and unremarkably until this week when the Wall Street Journal announced that they knew that they were going to be expanding. And in fact, even as recently as this fall, we heard they were going to be expanding into 150 schools. But this recent attention to it, I think, has taken everyone by surprise because, frankly, we hadn't heard much about the results from the pilot.
Well, do you think the timing had something to do with the college admissions scandal with the rich and famous bribing people to get their kids into prestigious universities?
So it's hard to say. Like I said, we do know that they've been working on this since at least 2017. But of course, we also know that just this fall, here in Boston, the U.S. Attorney, sorry, not this fall, this spring, excuse me, U.S. Attorney here in Boston announced indictments for the largest testing scandal in the history of the College Board. And it was just around that. It was around people who were already being privileged by the system, people for whom the SAT already benefits them, paying six figures at times to get more advantage.
Okay.
So is this possibly a response? It's possible. The College Board doesn't announce its thinking, so we don't know.
Okay. All right. We'll leave it there. Andre Green, thank you.